This is the HTC U11 Plus, the company's latest flagship that finally gets an 18:9 aspect ratio display, complete with the U11 squeezable H sensors and boom sound hi-fi speakers. I spent around 2 weeks using the U11 Plus as my daily driver, and this is hands down the best HTC smartphone ever made. But here's the question: can the U11 Plus finally turn heads on the struggling company, and what does it have to take on the Android flagship camp where Huawei and Samsung dominates? I'm Warren with KLGadgetTV, and this is my review of the HTC U11 Plus. In many ways, you can consider the U11 Plus to be a lengthier and upgraded version of the U11. The phone uses a bright 6-inch Super LCD6 display that outputs a 2880 by 1440 resolution and covers the DCI P3 color space. It isn't entirely bezel-less, as you will still notice an amount of forehead and chin, which to some folks could be less attractive to look at. As for me, I'm okay with that, as I assume HTC would need some space to fit in the boom sound speakers. The U11 Plus is also significantly heavier and thicker than the U11, measuring at 8.5mm and weighing 188 grams. I do, however, find the weight distribution of the phone to be really balanced, as my hands don't strain after using for extended usage, and that thickness offers a pretty good grip. The aesthetic isn't for everyone, but I would give it a pass. If you don't consider the original Google Pixel to be HTC devices, then the U11 Plus is the second HTC device to have a rear fingerprint scanner after the HTC One Max, which I find the former to work as reliable as Huawei's hardware. The U11 Plus doesn't have face unlock like some recent devices, but that's not a deal breaker, as most users are still pretty accustomed to fingerprint scanners for securing their phones. The U11 Plus provided to me is the signature translucent black model, which you can see a coil-like design on the glass back, and depending on one's preference, I find it really interesting to look at and assume it was meant for wireless charging initially, but sadly, it is merely for cosmetic purposes. For the longest time, HTC is the only smartphone company that heavily emphasizes on smartphone audio. The U11 Plus has obviously got that covered this round with a pair of louder boom sound speakers that delivers extremely clean audio. They actually sound better than most standard laptop speakers actually, and once you connect the provided U-Sonic headphones with active noise cancellation, you'll stop complaining the lack of a 3.5mm headphone jack, because the sound quality it delivers is really worth that compromise. Furthermore, if you are still persistent on using your old school wired headphone, HTC provides a USB-C digital audio dongle with a built-in amplifier out of the box, which can drive high-power headphones for a great music listening experience. The U11 Plus has the same processing power and storage configuration as the U11. However, it now comes with a larger 3930 mAh battery and an upgraded IP rating. The U11 Plus ships with Android Oreo and a new version of HTC Sense to fit the new aspect ratio. Navigational methods remain consistent like previous HTC smartphones, but there are a couple of great features. One of my favorite is being able to do a screenshot at any screen with a left swipe on the soft navigation buttons. There's also an always-on display feature that shows you the time and date when the phone is idle, or you can choose to show them as you pick up the phone. Lastly, HTC has updated H-Sense with a feature called H-Panels, which can be activated depending on the short or long squeeze on the phone's size. A customizable wheel panel will show up, offering access to system shortcuts and apps along with a calendar on the top. I have to admit that this is my first experience with HTC's Squeeze feature, and I really appreciate H-Sense in some ways, such as Squeeze to take a selfie or photo when reaching the camera shutter isn't an option, and Squeeze to answer a phone call. Best of all, HTC also allows H-Sense to be used on most apps and allows customizing a squeeze for actions within an app. HTC mentions that the U11 Plus's main camera is improved based on the U11's. It still takes 12MP stills at f1.7, but what's changed here is the inclusion of EIS on top of OIS, which you can now expect more stabilized handheld shots, especially in shooting videos. Photos look really great with accurate color temperatures and natural color saturation. I'm also impressed with how well the camera handles low light with minimal noise levels and ensuring great detail. With 4 microphones on board, the U11 Plus captures exceptionally great audio quality in videos and records them in high-res audio format, making this a great phone for videography if you ever need it. The front camera, however, gets a downgrade from the U11 16 megapixels to 8 megapixels. But image quality still looks fine, and HTC has added HDR and noise reduction, which helps improve selfies in low light. HTC hasn't been able to deliver a smartphone with great battery life for a long time, and I'm glad to report this round, the U11 Plus's battery life is impressive and can easily last a day on a single charge. In my case, I could get up to more than a day with a 2-hour screen on time, which is finally on par with some other flagship devices. Network reception and GPS performance is great, as I never had issues in getting consistent 4G and Wi-Fi speeds, as well as locking on to satellites as soon as I use Google Maps or Waze. After a long wait, HTC has finally made a flagship worth recommending, as the U11 Plus ticks the boxes in terms of features, performance, practicality, and price. The phone retails at 3,099 ringgit, which is rather competitive with its storage configuration, outstanding camera, and audio performance. It certainly turns heads around in noticing the company once again. However, HTC has a short period of time to excite users, as the competition is about to get tougher once again with new smartphones coming up in Mobile World Congress 2018. The HTC U11 Plus is a smartphone you can seriously consider if you are shopping for a new smartphone this new year.